lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaoh? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Or the simple answer after all? You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond.
Hey everybody, what is up? We are back. Patriot Excellence Radio, episode 4. Pathos and Karl are back to talk about all things metal. Yeah, Karl from Patriot. Yes, that's right.
Metal and freedom. Those are the topics mainly, I think.
Metal and freedom and all things culture, philosophy, theology. We love talking about it all. Today, we're going to be looking at the music
video
song from Symphony of Heaven, my band, called the Ascension of Extinction. We're going to be analyzing the lyrics, talking about it, and we're going to watch the video coming up here in a second, and then give our thoughts on each individual lyric and what it means and what it was written about. So we're going to check that out. Okay.
Have you ever seen The Devil's Advocate?
Oh, I love that movie. That was a great movie. Al Pacino, Keanu. So
yeah, what this makes me think of, because we're both on the outside here, but what this makes me think of is the speech about, what's the name, the guy who is killed in the park, who is the poster boy for the new millennium.
Yeah, he was kind of one of the richer, like a lawyer, worked in the firm or whatever, and he like
one of the guys, and Eddie Barsoon.
Yes.
Yeah, that it's no words in common, but I just get the feel of that speech.
The next 1,000 years is right around the corner, Kevin, and Eddie Barsoon. Take a good look. Excuse me. Because he's the poster child for the next millennium. These people, it's no mystery where they come from. You sharpen the human appetite to the point where it can split atoms with its desire. You build egos the size of cathedrals, fiber optically connect the world to every eager impulse, grease even the dullest dreams with these dollar green, gold-plated fantasies until every human becomes an aspiring emperor, becomes his own god. And where can you go from there? Hey, wrong way. Yeah. Fuck you. And as we're scrambling from one deal to the next, who's got his eye on the planet? As the air thickens, the water sours, even the bee's honey takes on the metallic taste of radioactivity. And it just keeps coming, faster and faster. Oh, fuck! Help! Stop it! There's no chance to think, to prepare. It's buy futures, sell futures, when there is no future. We got a runaway train, boy. We got 1 billion Eddie Barzoons all jogging into the future. Every one of them getting ready to fist fuck God's ex-planet, lick their fingers clean as they reach out toward their pristine cybernetic keyboards to tote up their fucking billable hours. And then it hits home. You gotta pay your own way, Eddie. It's a little late in the game to buy out now. Give me your watch.
Heth really was able to channel that idea of just like, I mean, really the whole 1984, the party, of just, double speak and just absolute, everything is coming to this horrible end. But I mean, you saw it coming this way. This was the natural thing of what was going to happen. The highway to hell, the manipulation, the propaganda. I have to go back and look at the exact words right now. Yeah. But he was really a genius to be able to come up with that. So
in the bowels of Mammon.
yeah,
like you're
that. I mean, you could feel it. How nasty that feels. Just
Have you seen the old movie Metropolis from like the 20s?
I don't believe I have. No.
They walk the people who work in the like the proles, the people who work for the elites in that movie. They are down in the like underground working, and when they go to work, they march into this giant mouth of Moloch. They have like you should see it. It's like science fiction from 1922 or something. Like
Yeah.
they sacrifice
Like the
themselves to the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the whole world is right now, which
Yeah.
is basically the idea of the original "You Shall Be as God's" artwork was sacrificing you're worshiping Moloch, and the body on the altar is your own body. You know, it was, which by the way, I had somebody the other day when we were out and about, I had that shirt on, and we were at Best Buy actually. I had that shirt on, and all of a sudden she says to me, "I think he's checking out your music." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And there was a guy behind the cash register who had his phone to his ear, and I could hear my music. And I'm like, he was looking at my shirt, and she was telling me, like, "I think he's checking out your music." He was. He's like, "I want to say that's an awesome T-shirt right there, and I want to thank you for wearing that because you just introduced me to this awesome band." I was like, "Well, how about this? That's my band." And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool." But I thought of you because I'm like, hey, that's your artworart. I wanted to tell you that.
Yeah, my artwork. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes me happy.
Yes. So you get you influence people in little ways all over the world with like artwork and stuff like that. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's what I hope to do.
This was the second song after "You Shall Be as Gods." We started that one. That was supposed to be a standalone single. I ended up turning it into an EP. So this was the second song I started working on. And the idea started to develop into, we take basically the idea of "You Shall Be as Gods" was from the garden and the serpent telling Eve, "You shall be as gods." Moving forward through time, now we arrive with Karl Marx, and up until we fast forwarded thousands of years at this point, but the idea was the same. All it has done, it has changed skin. It's the same demon underneath, but exactly. So forward we march through the ascension of time. See what our hands have built is yours and mine. So basically what I was thinking was,
it's like, we are so good. We are so good.
The people who are speaking that are the people who advocate or go with the idea of Marxism. Humanism kind of is an overarching umbrella term I kind of use for that. Just this idea that there is no God, that we are gods.
The man-centered.
The man-centered universe of Nietzsche.
Like atheist humanism, because humanism started among Christians, right? In the 1700s. Maybe
exactly.
deist.
And so, and so it became this idea, what it turned into is that these socialists and these Marxist communists, they were trying to build this utopian society. And they said everything that's ever happened, every bit of prosperity is only because of, man and what we have done, and we're going to take it all for ourselves. Forward we march
free
through
from the
ascension
shackle,
of time.
right?
Exactly. So it's like this idea that forward we march through the ascension of time, that we're building we're almost like a tower to heaven.
The Babylon Tower.
Yeah, and see what our hands have, and that's the same thing. See what our hands have built is yours and mine. Now, I might have been referencing that at the time, but it works anyway. And just to finish up that part, free from the shackles, eradicate all who oppose. That was basically taking the same idea of, working men of the world unite. And the thing is that they used violence, and look at the Romanov family in Russia, what they did to them, and the Tsar. Eradicate all who oppose. Like and what they try and do now, where they try and cancel people, or when in other communist countries where they literally make you disappear if you oppose them at all. We're going to eradicate you from the face of the earth, because to them you're a cancer, you're a virus that needs to be gotten rid of.
Yeah.
That a lot at the time, a lot of that was being written. You also had the Black Lives Matter movement was just everywhere, all over the world, especially here in America. A lot of this was written in the summer of 2020. And we had seen all these people that were calling, and it's basically the same idea, because the people who started Black Lives Matter were about communists. They admit that. They were about Marxists, trained Marxists was their words. So
there was actually a guy who started it before them, and they they just took the name and ran with it.
Yeah. So I mean, it was they were using this idea of the same thing that the Marxists used, justice, but it's not righteous justice. It's vengeance. We don't want justice. We want vengeance, and there's a difference. And vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
It's a religious thing with to pay for your ancestors' sins. That's if you're a humanist, you shouldn't have that.
But see, that's what they want. That's what these new Marxists want to do. Is that it's your fault because your ancestors did something. Well, how far can you possibly? You can go back forever and find something. How far do you go back? That doesn't make it falls apart on its face once you take it to its logical conclusion.
Clan society where like the vengeance forever.
And it was so. He who loves his fellow man. A lot of time, you had people in the church. There wasn't very many at the time.
The people who don't see race. Who loves his fellow man?
He who loves his fellow man is a traitor that shall die by our hand, because same thing as Marxists wanted. You're a virus. You don't agree with us or see things the way we do. You need to be eradicated. You're a traitor to us. You're a traitor to justice. When it was a upside down, perverted sense, I wouldn't even use the word justice. What they were wanting, like I said, it was vengeance. And as a Christian, I saw through that. Unfortunately, there was a lot in the church that did not at the time. A lot of them bent the knee, and I don't bend the knee to any man-made organization. We're not supposed to. He who loves his fellow man as a traitor to die by our hand. Illumination of new thought. We shall liberate man by extinction.
That's interesting.
It's that kind of ties back into the whole idea of these Marxists and these humanists from about the mid 1800s to now. They thought that they had this grand new idea, but what does the Bible say? There's nothing new under the sun. You don't have a new idea. You think you do, but the thing is that we're going to liberate man by extinction. So that's what they're doing. It's like, if we can just get rid of the undesirables, we shall liberate man. If we can get what Karl Marx said, if we can get rid of the bourgeoisie class, we can liberate
Hitler,
man.
The Jews.
Or Hitler, if we can get rid of the Jews, we can liberate man. Black Lives Matter and the race organizations.
Wash away whiteness.
If we can get rid of whiteness, whatever that even means, we can liberate man. So that was the idea behind that, and it really is this all-encompassing thing. And it even goes back to the garden where it's an illumination. You're the Illuminati kind of this idea that I'm presenting you some new secret wisdom, kind of Gnostic even, and I'm going to liberate you. And in reality, it's kind of a double meaning there, because they think they're liberating man by extinction, and in reality,
They are just making them
They're
extinct.
just making extinction. Yes. So the Ascension of Extinction.
I was thinking about like the year before this pandemic, and it was all climate, and it was like don't get children. That's the worst sin ever.
Yeah.
You know. And all of a sudden, people start dying, and it's like then that's the worst sin like ever. And it's the same. I can't say it's the same individuals, but it's sure it's the same group of people that is like first everyone should just get get an operation and stop breeding. I know you're coming to breeding later, and extinct like eradicate ourselves for the planet. When actually the real reason we have to save the planet is that we need somewhere to live. So it's kind of a weird. But then a year later, it was like you kill grandmas because you want to cut your hair, and it's like, wasn't it too many people? Like last time I looked,
it's a
like,
very good
point.
It's
so weird. I also thought about the Extinction Rebellion, just the name of it. When I heard your.
I didn't think about that because that's more of a European thing, for what I believe, right? We don't really have that over here.
I don't know really what they're into, but it's the name and the red clothing, and it looks very
it's very Greta Thunberg. So
but it's like it looks Old Testament Baal when they go in those red. I don't know how the Baal worshippers looked, but that's how they look in my mind.
Yeah, they probably look close to it.
Yeah, and also I was thinking about the Georgia Stones.
Oh yeah.
Keep the like 500 million people. Keep the level there. But maybe that's the fine thing with art. You may think of one thing when you write it, and someone else get another thought, and that's not the original, but it's not doesn't have to be wrong. Just,
I think on that it's pretty obvious to maintain human population below 500 million, you'd have to kill about 95% of humans.
You have to liberate.
Really, no way to interpret it.
We have become godlike, discovered true freedom, knowing good from evil.
Yeah, the lady is speaking.
That's right, Atmos.
That goes back to the first song, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
she was in that as well, and I'm very happy she was a part of that, and it would. So thank you very much, honey. And but what we were said, what was said right there, we have become godlike, discovered true freedom, knowing good from evil, is really just another tie-in to the "You Shall Be as Gods" theme. And who is saying this in this context are the same people who have been speaking this whole time, but it's almost like they're worshiping themselves. We have become godlike. Look at us, and it's kind of like what they're saying to themselves, knowing good from evil, discovered true freedom. They're just, I don't know the right word other than just they are worshiping their own ideas and their own selves. Like, look at us, look how good we are.
Have you ever read the Edda?
I have not.
Norse, because Odin, he is sacrificing himself to himself for his own glory. Because like a one-eyed god of wisdom. Can you find a better picture of man than a one-eyed god of wisdom?
Yeah.
Because when you have one eye, you really can't see the depth of anything. So that we briefly upon the altar, burning the sacrifice of victory. Oh, we're back there again, sacrificing ourselves to our own glory. Right?
Yep. Oh yeah, you realize when you go back and reread these things, because you can't remember exactly what you were thinking when you wrote them, but you discover new little trails off of the main path on each one. Cut our veins so that we may bleed upon the altar, burning the sacrifice of mankind. That's just imagery that I was using. Like, these people literally, they think that they'll bleed for their cause. They want this, they themselves want to become extinct, kind of going back to the idea of
maybe this is my own vanity, but I feel a shadow of my artwork here for the first single.
I believe that's probably it, because that was well in my mind, and that using that as this idea, the altar, sacrificing mankind, because so it comes, but they want, like a lot of the old pagan religions and stuff, they would cut themselves, and it was the same thing that always went on, the same thing that always happened. But now it's we want to put our blood and spill it on the altar while we sacrifice mankind, because that's just what they do, I guess, or they've always done.
Think about Ouroboros here, the serpent that eats. I know to like some people it's like, oh, it's about the circle of life, and it's evil eating its own ass. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yep.
If you ask me, I like literally, if you look at it, if you look at it, not with no foreknowledge whatsoever, it is a serpent eating its own ass.
Oh yeah.
It has grown too big, because we have that in Norse mythology as well. It's a Görmungandir. It's a serpent that in the bottom of the sea, like the Leviathan, and it has grown to the point where it starts consuming itself.
Yep, which evil always does. I mean, it
eats its own ass.
It's it's like eventually, if you keep subtracting, you don't have anything left to subtract. If you use like a math reference or whatever, but that's of course, what else is it going to do? Eventually it turns back on itself. So
that's my favorite in the whole song. I just love that.
That is pretty good.
Tell me
really
your
good right
thoughts on
there. Oh man, let's see. We shall set you free from want and need. As obviously going back to just playing more on the humanist, more on the Karl Marx angle of what has, because in the reality, most of the bad crap that's happened in the world over the last 200 years has had something to do with Karl Marx. Really, honestly. We shall set you free from want and need, liberate you from your burden to breed.
That's like the
Yeah, so I mean, it's
before.
Yeah, so basically, just back to if we eradicate you, if we get rid of you, then and we don't want you around, or your children, or your progeny at all, we're going to liberate you from your burden to breed by killing you, getting rid of you, or canceling you.
And you have the not 1984, but in Brave New World, they have like disconnected sexuality to breeding.
Yeah.
So the state is producing the kids, and they have a lot of sex, but it is the taboo is the connection between life and sexuality.
Yeah.
It's just fun games.
And then, like, where there is no breath, there is no greed. To them, that's their own wisdom. It's kind of like, it's like if I were to say, and I think maybe you said it before too, or somebody did. I think it might have been you, but that's like sitting there saying that, well, we killed all the poor people. Good, we eradicated poverty. No, you idiot.
Or it killed all the sick people.
We killed all the sick people, therefore we don't have sickness anymore.
The pandemic is over. We killed all the sick people.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's their backwards perverted wisdom, where if
I
if there's
probably
no
said,
human,
and now I'm going into the lockdowns again because that's what I do. I know I probably said this 100 times, but if I come to make a comparison with the policies. Now you got some Swedish. Okay, so I've said this to 100 people probably, and people might get sick of it, but it's like the lockdown policies. It's like you have this plastic bag and you pull it over your head to save yourself from a fart.
yeah, basically,
you don't get the fart, but you die. That's like, so you're burdened to breed. And wasn't it, correct me if I'm wrong here, but some kind of political poster from the Democrats where they had a little baby and it said, can you see the climate threat in this picture? Have you heard about that? Have you seen it?
I have not, but I think I know where you're going with it. Oh boy, that right there, that's kind of the full circle. Really, up until this point, really kind of the bow on top of everything. All hail the begotten Übermensch.
Yeah,
if I can pronounce that correctly. I hope I did because I sang it that way.
That's close enough, and I'm not German.
Yeah, me neither. So
as close as I would get. Übermensch.
The Übermensch was the idea. It was another type of word for like an overlord or a dictator, or but the idea behind it was basically like the Antichrist. Like all hail in the picture of this song, they're thinking that they're getting this great liberation for humanity, and then they come and find this person who's doing it for them, which is the Antichrist. Because in my mind, when I was writing this, I was playing upon the idea of the possibility of, could it be that the rise of Marxism and the idea of communism and humanism in this modern form could be the thing that sets off the stage for the Antichrist to appear. And so in this song, in this EP, this idea, that's what's happening. And here he is. Our cities shall reek of your blood stench. Well,
that's the old people who's not Uber.
Yeah, they're telling that to anyone who's opposed to them. As we ascend history, we will upend. That basically the same thing, that everything that had come before, we're going to eradicate all heritage, all tradition.
Marx, I was listening to the Communist Manifesto just the other week, and he is talking about the end of history. Like, not the end of history because it doesn't end in his mind, but the end of the change. You find the utopia, like a static now. Yeah. And that's what they have done in 1984 as well. Like, yes, they live in a now because they control history, and then they control because they rewrite history, and like every week they do it, and then like news media all around, but. And then the one who controls the past controls the now, and the one who controls now controls the future, and they just live in this now, the end of it. And Mark is talking about the end of history in that fashion. Like, it's like you have this and this class, and you have the class war, and then they end history.
Yeah, in their mind, they have reached and conquered the mountaintop. That there is no other place to go in their philosophy and theology.
When the utopia is finished, that's the end of history. Then you just live in a, like, that sounds very bleak. In a big now.
Yeah,
that's the nirvana.
They're satisfied. Humanity is satisfied with so much less than what God can give them, and that's what they settle for is, you know, no, it's just literally nothing. So.
It's pretty much just a continuation of the last one. Maybe I was.
It is, yeah. Plant our banner, bow down to thee, oh great overman. That's what Übermensch, I think, might be the more literal translation is an overman. Yeah. And that's what they considered Hitler or called Hitler was an overman or like a strong man.
And it's also the Nietzsche idea that as
yes, that's what it was. That's where that comes from. The overman.
Nietzsche talked about as man took over after like
the Superman idea.
Yeah, you get the Superman, the overman. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That's where that term comes from, Übermensch. That's what I was thinking now. I remember that. And man owes all to you. It's the same thing. You know, it's a continuation of the last lines, just another way to say it. So.
I'm very interested in that part. Can you explain it to me?
They love this idea and the Overman and what they've created so much that they basically want to die on it. Like they're fanatical. You know, place us within your walls so we cannot escape. Like almost in a
save us from freedom.
Yeah, it's save us from freedom, save us from everything outside of the walls. We want to be, you know, stuck here with you because we feel safe. And in reality, what they're not seeing is that, you know, the overman and the idea that they're following is basically impaling them. And they're running towards it. Oh, please impale me first. Madness. It's turned into madness at this point, you know. So basically, bathe us in your freedom. Bathe us in your freedom. We long for slavery. So the what he's bathing them in is the blood of everybody else within the walls where they've cut their veins and bled on the altar. Bathe us in your freedom. So we long for slavery because they want to be, you know, in that society and in that reality so much that it's just a continuation of that idea of going mad, you know, just completely cover us in the blood of war and everything else within the idea of that song. So
I was thinking about war is peace, freedom is slavery. Can't remember the last one, but it's the Ministry of Truth, 1984 again.
Yeah, it's completely, everything is upside down. Everything is backwards. What these people are thinking. And so that's what they're screaming out as they're just throwing themselves like lemmings going over the cliff with the smiles on their face, just like, yes, throw me into the flames, you know. And because they've gone completely psychotic, bought into it so much it's kind of like a suicide cult, basically, you know. So,
okay. So let's
continue
move on.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
That kind of underlines for the last part again.
Yes. Slaughter liberty so we may be free, because liberty is dangerous. Liberty allows for people to have different ideas. And if we can't be free unless we've eradicated freedom. So
because as long as there's danger, we are not free, because we are not free from danger.
Yeah, cast out freedom by your decree, because the same thing that they've, you know, if we have freedom in the world, that means we don't have control. And if we don't have control, that means in their minds, we don't have freedom. Freedom for us, not freedom for anyone else, but just freedom for them. Yeah. Prophetic at this point because of what's happened over the last week or two with Biden, is his decrees and everything else. So, you know, I didn't really want to be prophetic there.
No, it's one of those things when you just want to be wrong.
Yes. Oh, I prayed I was wrong, but apparently not.
Yeah.
My favorite part now. Now I get to ask you something.
Yeah.
Okay. The first half before Mund comes in. So now we come to the lyrics that you yourself have written for this song.
I have,
which is my personal favorite lyrics on the just about on the entire EP. Honestly, I love them. I mean, I hear them and I get my fist pumping, and it's like waving the flag everywhere.
I'm gonna tell you about this. It goes back to my fetish for Stephen King. It does. It's from The Stand. It's also from the Bible, but you have this retarded guy who is one of the biggest hero in the book, and they send him like a spy into the enemy's lair, and they kind of they give him a hypnosis before, because to put it that like in his undermind what he's gonna do and when he's going back and stuff like that, because he's not all there, but he is a hero.
Yeah.
And then when he is under the hypnosis, he starts to say things he has no business knowing, and he talks about the enemy. This is kind of an antichrist figure in The Stand, Randall Flagg. And he's like,
always outside. He came out of time. He doesn't know himself. He has the name of 1,000 demons. Jesus knocked him into a herd of pigs once. His name is Legion. He's afraid of us. We're inside. He's the king of nowhere, but he's afraid of us.
And they ask him,
are you the same Tom that Nick met in Oklahoma? Are you the same Tom we know when you're awake? Yes, but I am more than that, Tom. I don't understand. He shifted a little, his sleeping face calm. I am God's Tom.
And I was like, when I was listening to an audiobook. It's more like all the skins just, I can't say it without getting the prickles. Yeah, so that's the inspiration. I had that in my mind, that image, and it felt like it goes together with your lemmings there. Like, whoa.
Yes. My thought about it is like up until this part in the song, everything has been bleak. Everything's been dark. Everything's just been, it's over. There's no hope. It's bad. Fire, flames, blood, Antichrist, all that stuff. And, and then you have like Gandalf coming over the hill at first light on the fifth day. And so everything's so bleak up to this point, and then this light breaks through, and you plant the flag right there, and you start to call him out that this is what this actually is. You rip the mask off his face, and it's like this bright, shining hope is starting to feed and filter through the darkness, and that's what I'm getting from that as this keeps progressing in the lyrics. Standing up and saying what this actually is with balls of steel that you cannot stop, you cannot disregard. I will not shut up. I will not sit down. I'm going to speak what's true.
Rosa Parks? Is that the name of the lady who would move? Yeah.
Yes.
Move. And she said, no.
No. That's right. That's exactly it.
That's a good word to remember. No.
Yes, it is. So we come with freedom from his slavery. We come with answers for his lies. We throw our pearls before the wicked swine and raise the banner that they despise, the enemies of thee and thine. Go, describe what your process was.
That was very literal. Well, the swine, of course, is an image, right? Because we were into the so you have the story about Jesus throwing out the demons into a herd of swine, and there's also this proverb about like pearls before the swine.
Yes,
that's like, and Jesus is into that also in some of his parables. I think it's like from different parts of the Bible, and I think just the first lines triggered that imagery in my mind, and the raising of the banner is always with me.
I know.
I can't get rid of the flags.
Well, and that's what I was saying about like how it made me think of like, here comes this man on the mountaintop planting the flag for all to see, standing against the evil diabolic hordes.
Also somewhere in the Bible, raising a banner on the mountaintop. Somewhere in the Old Testament prophecy, maybe Isaiah or something.
I think it's Isaiah. Yeah, it's somewhere in Isaiah.
Do you know they call him the fifth evangelist?
I could see that. Yeah, I really can.
Yeah.
So that's, we come with freedom for his. It's like a herald. Like we come with freedom for his slavery. Like you're calling out to people. We come with answers for his lies. It's just like so powerful in the imagery of the song.
And raise the banner that they despise. Yeah,
that's right. The enemies of thee and thine, because it's just calling it out for what it is. There is no in between. You either are a follower of God or you're not, and there is no in between. If you're not on God's side, then you're an enemy of God, and it's just how it is. And because most of the time you end up taking the full path down that way where you are the enemy of God and his people and his children.
Then comes the gospel. When we were still enemies of God,
yes,
he
right.
gave himself up for a cross. Hallelujah!
Amen.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're right. I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, it's not a politically correct thing to say, but
I try to not fall into the trance.
Yes,
starting waving around. Happens sometimes.
It does, but I mean, but you come with freedom. We come with freedom. From his slavery, we come with answers. We come with hope.
We come with metal and light.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean,
which is the best way.
Yeah, it's the best way. Metal has always been about freedom and resistance.
Yes.
Up till now, maybe.
Because up until now, yeah, it's been a sad thing to see.
Oh, yeah, it's so. I'm not going to go into those words. Might offend someone.
Well, we were watching. The kids wanted to watch that old movie School of Rock with Jack Black in it.
Yeah,
and
take it to the man.
So we watched it. We watched it, and he's like, there used to be a time when rock and roll was about sticking it to the man and standing up, and it was what rock and roll was about, where it was, I'm not gonna bow down to the government and I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna say what I think, and I'm not gonna be scared. You're not gonna intimidate me because I got a guitar and an amp, and bam, and it was just this idea, and it's totally gone now. I can't say that for every band, but you see it more and more.
It's not totally gone.
It's not totally gone, no. Exactly. But I'm
going to tell you something. I know I'm going a little off topic here, but I just can't resist it. We were in Czech Republic a couple of times. 2 times playing with 3 times I think playing with the band. On different two of these occasions was a little bigger events, and one of the big events on those were the Trutnov open air, and that has a history. That was a part of how they wrestled themselves out of bondage from the communist regime. They just it's called the Silk Revolution because there was not a drop of blood. They just stubborned themselves into victory. They just kept
They
on
said
doing
no.
their thing. Yeah, they said no.
They said no.
And they had this
Yeah.
festival. First it was like a very small stage in a barn somewhere, and as soon as some tattletale told on them, the police came and shut it down, and then it just popped up in another place, and then it just popped up and they just kept going. And the reason we don't know anything about this in like Western history, we just don't. You can find it on internet, but we don't. We are not taught about this in school. The reason is it doesn't lead because it doesn't bleed, right? If it bleeds,
right.
it leads. It was no. They just planted their heels and kept going. And music was only one of the things. And they wrote this document called the Carta 77. So it was like we had an old Swedish punk rock band called Carta 77. I didn't know what that was about at all until I met these people down that was actually a part of this revolution. The guy that brought us down there, he was this little guy who was just 60 something, and he was just shining like a kid when he was hearing the metal. And he told us in Czech language that he wanted us to go there, and we don't speak Czech. But some weird way we understood what he was talking about because he was very good with his hands. And he told us that his son, he was going to use his son as a translator and send us this later. And the thing is, when we got that letter, it was exactly what we thought he said, because he was just he's a genius with his hands. He speaks body, this guy.
Yeah.
Later, we learned that they have like 2 years waiting time for this festival. So many bands want to play there. But he has a line past all of that. He gets to choose one band every year because he knows the guy who started it.
Yeah.
And that's where we came in.
That's awesome.
He just passed
That's cool.
us. And also later we the more you know this guy, the more you understand who he was. He was imprisoned for political reasons. He was one of the people signing the Carta.
Yeah.
And the one who wrote the Carta was Václav Havel, who later became their president.
Yeah.
They were buddies. You saw the pictures where they were like, yeah, So we were standing in the shadow of history when we hung out with that dude.
That
was just
like an
because
honor.
he talked about metal, what it was about. It was about freedom.
Yeah, and that's what it should be about. I mean, that's what art is about, is freedom, because that's coming from you yourself as a person, as a human being.
Yeah.
You're sharing your mind and your heart with somebody, and if you do it under coercion, it's not art.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yep.
So, is there anything more to say about this song, or is it time for the sign off?
The Ascension of Extinction marches onward. basically, I think that's just to move into the next song. The idea that, you know, it still marches onward, or maybe they're thinking that it marches onward, or you could really say that in a lot of different ways. Whose extinction? You know, because at this point we've kind of flipped the tables around, and to go into the next song, things change. The atmosphere and what happens changes. So, you know, whether
we'll
or not,
have to, we better do that.
whether or
also
not that was
someday.
written that way, I don't know, but you know, it is something I kind of can see of it now. But
That's
I
a
think
thing that just happens. You know, it's weird how things just come together. It's
yes,
I blame the spirit.
and you don't remember what you were thinking when you did it, but it works. You know,
it's very interesting finding old stuff you've written and you have like no memory. It's
all right, that's us looking at the Ascension of Extinction off Symphony of Heaven's EP back in 2020, The Ascension of Extinction. Lyrics written by PATHOS and Karl and Hef. We appreciate you guys taking the time to listen and really get kind of a behind the scenes on what the thought process was between the two of us for this. So, Karl, tell them stay metal, and that we'll see him next time.
Stay metal. See you next time.
See you guys. God bless. We love you.
You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. For should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaoh, could Christ have reduced the cross? Should the patriot that conquered bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world?